Hi and welcome. So you see from the title, this is a little bit different video than I normally do for a garden tour Saturday. And there's not much going on here. It's the end of the season. The watermelons are doing their thing. We're still getting figs like crazy. Unbelievable. It's been a great year for figs. Peppers, all that stuff. The main garden is going like gas. I should be getting flowers on these peas anytime. Starting to get the second leaves on the carrots and the beets. And I just planted, Chris, bless his heart, filled another bed for me. And I just got the collard greens planted today on those. And yeah, the okra is coming in like gangbusters. Tomatoes, even though we don't have a lot, we're getting them coming in very quickly now. So we'll be having tomato sandwiches, BLT, my favorite. And then we're still here. These little, what are they called? Catzels? I forget the name. Cat something. Anyway, they're producing. So we'll see if we get any hazelnuts, filberts this year or not. It did last year, but this thing's getting pretty big. This was a one from a DeGroup box from Tractor Supply. But I've been wanting to make this video for a very long time. Things we considered, things I'm grateful for, just the properties we looked at and what was important to us. It may not be important to you, but I think there's still some critical things to think about when dreaming of your own homestead or property to grow your own food or raise animals or whatever. And I did consider, the possibility of cows or pigs or chickens or any of that stuff. However, I did a lot of deep thinking. I know on YouTube it's often romanticized, a lot of these homesteads, and they show the families doing the work. A lot of times they don't show the workers doing the work. They show the kids doing work, but none of those are guaranteed, short term or long term. So let's get into some of the considerations that I made, and I'd love to hear some of the things you considered so we can share as a community. Things we regret or things we love about our choices, if you are a homesteader. And it might help those who are looking to dream the dream as they kind of portray on YouTube versus what is reality. So I know some of the property I looked at, terrain is important. So why is terrain important? So I looked at some property that was wooded. It did have garden space. It was very isolated. And I looked at property that was very hilly. Hilly going down to the house. A very extremely steep hill. And I didn't like that water running that way either. And the garden area that had been established was on that hill. The other thing was, and the backyard was downhill. So, and there were some buildings and stuff down there. So here it's pretty flat. We do have a little bit of a hill on the culvert area, but I wouldn't dig into that for any soil. So to fill these raised beds back here, we had to buy soil. So that was a cost to consider. And sometimes you may have bad soil where you have to bring a lot of soil in to amend soil for your gardens and stuff. So you have to take in consideration the cost, the safety, and I mentioned isolation. If you've ever seen The Godfather, that was one thing that stuck in my mind as I toured some of these larger acreage areas, is that You know that scene where he's out in the tomatoes and has a heart attack and dies? Well, yeah. And we actually have a friend after we bought this property who had been doing some yard work and died and had been there for quite a while. So that kind of stuck in my mind quite a bit. You can see here, I mean, if you've watched my videos, I have backyards that face my property. And I have homes across the street that they can't see me in the back. Well, some can see me in the back, but not all of them can. So that brought a little comfort to me, knowing that I had people around and I wasn't in total isolation. The other thing, we looked at a house and it was down this long road. And the closest fire hydrant is pretty far. I'd say a good quarter of a mile or so. And for that reason, it was a wood structure as well. So any fire probably would have been catastrophic damage, and we would have lost everything. The insurance would have been very high because of that as well. So, and I'm kind of mixing situations, but a lot of this also has a financial component to it, and I'm trying to mention those as I go along. So costs are important, and the other thing is maintenance. Now we're only on 2 acres. It's open acreage. We have one patch of trees here. We have these 2 pines here. However, even to mow this on a John Deere, it's a pretty wide tractor, but to maintain this yard, it takes about 2.5 hours to mow the yard. That doesn't, of course, include weed eating and trimming and, you know, what do you do with your limbs and brush and stuff like that, and hauling those and all the stuff. So the maintenance can be quite intense, and right now I have an injured shoulder, so my husband has been doing everything for the last probably a couple months now. I normally mow and he does the trimming and other maintenance, but I'm not able to do that now, so he's having to do that and laundry and stuff like that right now. I mean, I load the laundry, I'll take some stuff out, I can do the T-Rex stuff and fold underwear and bras, but the broader, and even that's painful, but even the broader stuff, it's too much for me. So he's been doing that, and I feel terrible that he's, you know, working full time, then he's having to maintain that. We're doing the gardens. He's been great about loading those. But I had to kind of beg him to take a day off on Monday, Labor Day. And he still got up and worked because there is stuff to be done. And and that brings me to the ability to maintain. So again, I have a little bit of guilt that he's having to take all this on himself, and if I were alone, it wouldn't be getting done without paying someone to do it to keep the city off my back, right? So there's that. And even if you live in a rural area, there are codes where you have to maintain your culvert or what have you. And if you're unable to do it, you're going to have to pay someone to do that, even if it's a temporary thing. And these days it can be difficult to find reliable, dependable, and affordable assistance in any of that. I had offered to pay someone to fill these beds quite a bit of money. Like, what did I offer? I can't remember, but I had no takers. I wasn't going to go any higher than that, so I figured we'd just bide our time. I'm on a fixed income. My husband works, so again, I'm not going to take advantage of his paycheck to pay somebody else to do it. I'll just be patient. And he, like I said, he's been great at taking this on. So the other thing is cost to maintain. You not only have the house, you have the yard, you have the equipment, you have outbuildings that need repair, replaced. If you, our shed, I think you've seen it, it is stuffed to the max. We also have what we call the barn, and that pretty much only houses our, it houses the mower for the most part, and then because it's drive-in. But that building is not going to last much longer. So at some point that will have to be replaced. There's that. Then, like I said, if you're going to bring in soil, there's the cost for that. If you're on vacation, there's the cost for paying someone to take care of your animals or take care of your yard. We were lucky. We just did a long trip, and our neighbor was gracious enough to mow our lawn twice without being asked. We're, like I said, fortunate. Again, if you're living in a rural area, that's going to be a lot more difficult, especially if they have their own farm, homestead to keep up with, and things happen. So you need to have somebody in your back pocket that you trust to be able to take care of your animals, and that your animals like, and that aren't afraid, and have the equipment. Chris had to buy some muck boots to take care of the neighbor's chickens because the rooster liked to peck feet and legs. So yeah, there was that. Now you also have, again, the time to mow, trim, and edge everything if you're not able to. So the other thing is I considered whether I wanted animals or not. So in animal care, that's a whole another ball game. The cost, the time, the processing. You know, I know some people will cull their animal, but then it has to be processed. They don't do processing on site. So that's another cost. And it's not just when you're young and bringing money in and able. You have that cost when you're no longer able to do those things physically. So, and money might be tighter at that point too, because you're unable to do market gardening and sell at the markets and that type of thing, or even sell locally. So that's something. And even if you don't have animals, you still, again, have to maintain where they were if they're not there. So, and vets, oh my gosh. And again, I had somebody who went out to Arizona to farm sit for some people. They are not farmers. They are city folks. And a bull got out. A bull got out. So they pretty much spent the time on that farm there trying to get the bull back in before the owners got home. Fun. And having no experience, that was quite crazy, as you can imagine. So, and finally, I'd like to talk about aging in place. Now, everything's great. You see these homesteaders, they have their kids, the kids are working, kids grow up. Kids end up not wanting to, they don't have the same vision as you. They may want to do something else. They may want to travel. They may get jobs and move away, and want to be, I don't know, city kids for a while. You see it in the Amish. So, you know, it's something you have to think of. I mean, it's your dream, not your child's dream. So you just don't, I'd say don't rely on that. We never had kids, so we knew, like, we hit reality, like we knew we would have no help really when we came here, unless we hired someone to do it. So, and again, a lot of these homesteaders, they have people on the back end that you don't see working, and how much work they do, it's intense. It really is intense. So if it's your dream, make sure that you can handle it and handle it for the long term, you know, unless, you know, you have an alternative plan. But to age in place can be very difficult. So the other thing is, if you do run into a medical issue, you have to think about, again, your animals and your family first, hopefully. There's going to be, you're going to need an advocate for you. If you're in the hospital, you need an advocate. You need somebody there. And people can't be in two places at once. They can't be at the hospital and tending to the farm and animals that are oftentimes hours away from the facility where you're getting your care. I know in Georgia, North Georgia in particular, you go north of Macon all the way up to the state lines of Tennessee. I know of maybe 2 hospitals that can do cardiac care, that can do liver transplants, that can do kidney transplant, that can handle trauma. There are no rural trauma hospitals. When my dad lived in about an hour from Atlanta, he flatlined for 20 minutes when he was 55, and it was recommended that he be life flighted to Atlanta, but his wife was at college semester had just started, and there was no way that she could handle going back and forth, and we were told we wouldn't even know what kind of condition he would be in once he regained consciousness. So luckily he did. He came back. He's now taught about in medical school at Emory University. His cardiologist at the time said, you know, his thing is never give up. You know, by the book, this guy never should have been what he ended up being, like living a full, happy life. And it turned out that, yeah, my dad did, luckily, thankfully. But it was distressing knowing that, you know, that medical doctor wanted him in a facility that could provide services. Not all hospitals are the same. So you have to look at the services they provide and as you age and what they can do for you. Now I'm having my shoulder surgery Wednesday. My plan is to go into the city of Atlanta to have that procedure done because I'm 62. If something happens to me on the table, I want them to be able to do something there and then, not stabilize me and life flight me somewhere else, hoping I'll make it in time. So I have better odds of survival doing that. And I have a love for life, and I want to live, you know. So there is that. And even though that is a little far from the house, I'll be on a nerve block. I can get home, and it'll be the most comfortable I've been in a vehicle in months, because I'm in pain on the roads. Every little jostle, bump thing, just it's awful. So that being said, and just doctors in general, Medicare, you know, a lot of doctors don't take Medicare, Medicaid. And if you're not established, trying to get established can take months. So if you have existing health problems, it's going to be difficult. So I recommend before you move, go ahead and get your doctors established, because the wait list can be quite long for a specialist, and even sometimes PAs or just your PCP. So get those in place before you move to make that transition easier, because you don't want to be without your medication for any length of time or at all. So the other thing to consider is nursing care resources. If you have something happen and you need in-home care or nursing care in a facility, how's that going to be managed? And can you manage the cost? The resources there are can be thin, and especially in a rural area. And you're not going to have someone in a major city that's willing to drive to work an 8-hour shift. They're not going to be willing to drive 2-3 hours or an hour and a half or whatever. So that's something else to consider. There's the isolation aspect of it. I've already mentioned some reasons why community is important. I've had, like I said, we've watched the neighbors' chickens and cats, and I've taken neighbors to other states so they can visit dying relatives because they were elderly, and stayed overnight while they spent time with family. I think community is important, and it gives you a sense of what's going on around you, and it helps keep you vital. I have some senior programs I can be involved in and have been involved in. I'm looking at getting involved with those again because I don't know. We'll see what goes on there. But you have access to silver sneakers and other programs that when you're living out in the country you may not have access to, that will help keep you viable for a long time. The other thing to look at is transportation, public transportation. I think it's so important because you never know when you won't be able to drive. I told a story last night on my live about having broken a foot before, but I lived in the city. I was fine. It was easy to get to work. I had no problem. I have macular degeneration. I could lose my sight at any time. I've already had a macular hole that was repaired. Now I have nerve damage. Just had cataract surgery. So all that to say, and just safety. Sometimes when you age, you're not safe on the roads anymore for whatever reason. I know I've had an injury where I couldn't turn my neck to be able to drive and check for traffic. And that was after a move. I lifted something heavy, and then the next day I could not move my head. So, but again, I was inner city. I could, get around. But as you age, I think it's important to have, Ubers around. But when you get rural, it's not as accessible. And so I think that can be pretty important. Where I am, we don't have public transportation, so that's something I'm looking at as far as my long-term plan, and I'll get into that in a moment as well. The other thing is our home is pretty accessible. Like from my driveway, I have a room that is totally accessible. The doorways, it's iffy on that. With a wheelchair, if I was wheelchair bound or Chris was wheelchair bound, might be a little iffy there, but I can widen one door and make that very accessible over there. And but I think it's doable. And the other thing is we have a huge walk-in shower. Huge. It's big enough for probably 4 people. We haven't tested that. Won't be testing that. But it's big. And I had a problem with my father. We lived in such a small bungalow that when he went into hospice, I had to basically carry him from the wheelchair to the toilet to the shower. And there was no room for me to shower with him. So that meant then mopping everything afterwards. And it was a lot. It was a lot. So, and again, you may have to take care of your loved ones or your child or your spouse. Hopefully that doesn't happen to any of you. May everyone's parents live well and long and be healthy. But that's not always reality. So yeah, and we have an attic upstairs, which is where air conditioner is, but this house has walk upstairs. I have a door I open, there are stairs all the way up. There's not that little pull down step thing that is dangerous as you age, to have to be able to access the filter there. So, yeah. So I think accessibility long term is pretty important. You can put in a ramp, and you can put in those stair lifts and stuff like that. But and also I had an accident, and I wish I'd had it then. We all had low toilets here, so when this side of the house got damaged with termites, I had a high toilet put in there. So, and I also have an adjustable bed back there. So if we ever have surgeries, which I'll probably be sleeping back there in recovery, because it's a adjustable bed, and I can keep my upper body elevated and my feet elevated. I can be comfortable. I even used it during my macular hole, because I had to keep my head down the entire time, and my neck and shoulders were killing me. But I was able to raise the foot of the bed and put some pillows on there and just kind of sit in a chair and lay over with my face down. They give you this thing you gotta. So that was very convenient to have. But again, you have to have if all your bedrooms are upstairs, it could be difficult. So, and again, children are not, you can't expect your children to have your same goals or to stick around. So, a lot of kids now, we live in a big world. Kids don't stick around a lot. They move to other states, the other side of the country, other countries. So don't depend on your children, no matter how you raise them, to stick around. They may have different goals and aspirations than you do. And so I guess, basically life has no guarantees. So, you have to kind of have contingencies built in, right? Oh boy, I'm sounding like somebody I know. So, yeah, I have who I adore. But it's important to have a long-term plan. And so for Chris and I, if a builder, this is a prime property. I'm believe it or not, here I am on 2 acres. I've got properties around me, but I'm 2 blocks. I can walk 2 blocks and be at shops and restaurants and bars and all that. Not that we do that. I'm too much of a tightwad. We do some of the restaurants, but it's mostly takeout if we do. So yeah, we don't, and I cook most nights, so that doesn't happen often. So I'm very lucky, but long term, I've been thinking about it, talking about it. I think long term, we may probably be moving to Athens, Georgia. Why, might you ask? Number one, they've put out a killer bunch of music. REM, B-52s, Government Mule, Widespread Panic. Just the list goes on all the good music that's there in Athens. They have the university there. If you're a senior, most universities offer free classes. So if you have a hair for learning photography and that's something they offer in a class and there's room, generally you can get in for free. You just have to buy your books. And if there are labs, you need to pay for your labs. So that's fun. If you ever wanted to do art, you can do college art classes. It's crazy. You want to study law, you can go study law. So there's opportunity there. It's a youthful environment. So there's stuff going on. There's art shows, plays, like I said, music. There's just interesting, quirky things. And then you have the campus, which is pretty incredible. The other thing is I'm looking at probably going to a duplex situation and renting long term as I age, when I cannot maintain this physically anymore, or we're just tired of it and we're putting in more effort than we're getting in rewards. So living in a duplex, I can probably, I'll find a landlord that will allow me to bring raised beds and grow a garden, and that has an open space. And luckily in a college town, there's a variety of housing available to be able to do just that. The other reason for Athens is that it has great transportation. So it has bus lines, and I think they also offer, if you're disabled, a door-to-door service. So that's important. You never know. You might pass not pass I think a lot of states require a driver's test at a certain age, or once you've passed a certain age. So if you fail that test, you're, really going to be isolated. So, and, I think we're humans. We need a social connection. The other reason for Athens is they have an incredible hospital there that's just getting better and better. They're starting to include a lot of the university in their practices out there, and giving them teaching and learning opportunities. So I believe that hospital, it's pretty darn good now, but that hospital is just going to get better over time. The other thing is university communities also have a pretty darn good, where was I going to go with that? Just all around. We'll just say university. There's so much. Affordable housing, right? Because you have students, so you have better affordable housing opportunities there in a rural area, and and you have students that you can hire to do things for you if you need it, that need the money, and will do almost anything for a 6-pack. Or a keg, if you have really rough work to do. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm going in our kind of long-term plan. Chris didn't care about the housing so much as he does, as he long-term, he likes the idea of living in a college area and be able to roam the campus, so and hang out in the library. Which is what he does at work now if he doesn't have anything going on. So, that's lots to think about, lots to consider. We looked at several properties, and this one seemed more ideal. Now, when we bought, the shops and restaurants weren't here. There were a couple shops, and there was one restaurant. And now we have 7, 8 restaurants, and there's a brewery, there's, shops, clothing, wine, all within walking distance. 2 blocks, can you believe it? So this was a good investment. So if a developer knocks on my door tomorrow and offers me big money to move, I'm out of here. No joke about that. So, because I'm older, so I would definitely take that opportunity and skedaddle. So any buyers out there want to buy me? Now, I'm loving my life now. I have no regrets. I love what we're doing. I love where we're going. I love our long-term plans and short-term plans here. But long-term, you need a contingency plan. So, and I told my mother-in-law, though, if anything ever happens to Chris, I might be inclined to move to Colombia. Only because it's a different place. They have great health care. They respect their elders. And because of their culture of high respect for elders, it makes it a great place to get nursing care long-term. Cost of living is low there. Climate is steady. You don't have these extreme heats and colds in some areas. And and that's another thing to consider is cold and weather. Like, can you handle the heat? Can you handle the cold? Can you handle the snow? It's a lot to consider. Where you move, how you move, and your long-term plan. So Again, life has no guarantees. But yeah, tell me what you looked at when you bought your property. Let me know if this has helped you. Let me know if you had not thought about things, or, as a community, and to help those who are in the process of looking to grow more and do more. Put in the comment things that helped you make your decision, or things that I didn't cover here. We all have expenses we can't avoid, which is even food. You can't depend on crops. You have to grow a variety. So you have to have the land for that. We certainly don't, as much garden space as we have. We looked up recently in planting these, how much do you have to plant of everything to feed a couple of two for a year. It's pretty incredible. And I thought, like, some of them were very low ball, depending on the types of food. We'll eat anything, but come on, 15 tomato plants for the two of us? No way. We do sauces and salsa, and to be totally sustainable, that's not enough for us. And then again, you need the freezer spaces, you need the electricity to run the freezers, or canning, and the space to put your canning, and there's a lot. And even here, when we built here, that where we have the new gardens, that new raised beds, that was a chicken coop, and that chicken coop, they had put chicken wire over the top of it, and they had let Virginia creeper and jasmine grow over it. So I had to go in and take wire cutters and cut rows of viney filled chicken wire and roll that up, and then try and get rid of it. So that's another thing, garbage disposal, that type of thing. So, and requirements and laws. Look at your zoning laws. If you have plans, read your local jurisdiction zoning laws. And here, a lot of people think they're part of the county. They're not. They're part of the city. Different laws. So take all of that into consideration. Do your research. Don't. I had a friend that asked me, because I'm a weirdo like that. I like looking at laws and reading laws. I did a lot of regulatory stuff anyway, for emergency services. So he came to me and said, the realtor is saying I can build on this land. And he said, but it's by a creek on one side, it's by a lake on the other. And I looked up the easements, and there was no way he could ever build on that property, even though the realtor told him he could. So don't trust. I've never used a realtor, never, ever, on a house. I've done my own research, done my own due diligence, and hired the proper people to do the survey, the title search, the inspection. Do your property survey. I've had 2 neighbors that bought without a survey and disputed the property line. I saw my new neighbor over here come over by my blackberries, and they were digging, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, this is my property. I'm like, no. So he lost about, what is that, a good, oh my Lord, how much did he lose? Probably a good 50 feet of property that he thought he had. The other neighbors were going to put in a pool, and now they can't. They don't have the clearance to do that. So or they may, but it's not going to be what they thought it was going to be, or placed the way they thought it would be. So, but we had our surveyed. So, do your research, and do your due diligence, and let me know what you're doing, what your plans are, what you're thinking. If you have a homestead, let me know your contingency plan, because everybody needs a contingency plan for long-term care as we age. So, love y'all. Thanks for watching. If you've never seen me before and you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Of course, my subscribers, please hit the thumbs up. And if you like what you saw, I do garden tours. I'm kind of laid back. I do a little bit of everything. I do music trivia on Wednesday nights. That's live 8 p.m. Eastern time. I do garden tours. I do cooking videos. I do travel. I do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I'm able to travel because I have no animals that I have to care for and that are dependent on me. I have good neighbors that would take care of it, but you know, they're always on the back of your mind. And as you age, animals can become a health hazard. So I'm going to end this video here. It's 40 minutes, probably too long now. Y'all take care. Love y'all. We'll see you later. Bye.